So I'm at Flower Lake now, and it's a beautiful lake. And I think it's a little bit better than the last lake I looked at, Gilbert, but I mean, it's not head and shoulders above. And I'm on a little fishing trail that goes around the lake, because where we're going is above the lake to another lake called Heart Lake. See the fish swimming away? See that? There's fish everywhere in this lake, and they're probably really easy to catch. So if you've made it to Flower Lake, this is pretty much good enough for everybody. For me, I'm gonna take it to one more level, and I wanna get up there and take a look at Heart Lake. Heart Lake really doesn't have a trail, that's why there's not a lot of people, but you gotta get up that last bit, and it's about a quarter mile of some fairly gnarly uphill. So to make it up to Heart Lake, there really isn't a good defined trail, so you wanna stay above the green stuff, because there you can find a route through this dry stuff that'll get you up to Heart Lake. That's up there, and it's named that because it's shaped like a heart. Look at it on a map. So if you want to see what this going is like, this is like uncharted territory. And that's why I'm going up here, because you can camp at Flower Lake, and if you want to go chill somewhere with a great view and you don't want to have a lot of people, this is an option. Now I think there is a kind of a semi-trail, but what we're gonna do is we're just gonna power straight up this dry stuff. Last time I was here, I came up here twice. I think I went up a different way, came down a different way every time because I kept getting lost. But I mean, the lake is just above, so it's not a big deal. I mean, this isn't a situation. Flower Lake's right down below, and Heart Lake is right up here. And it's a nice little adventure. Pack a lunch and you're good to go. So I'm only about 50 yards from where the last clip was, but just to show you, if you're gonna go to Heart Lake, you're gonna be doing some steep climbing, but it's short. It's only like a quarter or a half mile of it. So the best way to go up here is you want to make sure the stream coming out of Heart Lake is to your left, and you can get over to this area from the main trail, and just make sure you want to stay where everything is kind of dry. Don't go down in the marshy area down by the lake, because you're in for a long day. But from here I can shoot straight up to where the lake is and kind of follow this creek. I'd love to find a well-traveled trail, but there just doesn't seem to be one to Heart Lake, because no one wants to go up there because it's so hard. Oh, wait, here, this seems to be a trail. I picked it up. It's not a very defined trail, but it looks like it's either a trail or it's a wash where water comes down. Either way, it seems to be going right up. This Heart Lake is right up there, so it's got to get above that. This is why people don't backpack to Heart Lake much. It's because, as you can see, this is an extremely steep grade, and although it's short, there's a little bit of a price to pay to get up here. But I'm almost to the top, and if you just put your head down and just keep going. Onward and upward. But there's the last stretch to where the lake is. You just gotta power. Now there's a twisted tree that has lived what I would call a tortured life. It's growing up out of the rocks. It looks like a giant bonsai tree. It's all stunted, doesn't have a lot of nutrients there because it's just clinging to the side of this steep hillside. But the funny thing is, when you see something like that, it's not very tall, but there's no telling how old that thing is. I mean, you just look at how twisted and tortured that growth is. That thing could be hundreds of years old. It probably is. And it's making a living up here. So is his little buddy right there. These trees aren't impressive by stature, but when you're growing up the side of a cliff, I guess that's all you can do. So I'm not criticizing him. That's about as tough as a tree gets right there. That is one tough tree. And that's how steep it is where we came from. There's Flower Lake down there. It's pretty much a very steep grade, about as steep as they come. But we're just about there. So here we are at my destination, Heart Lake. I can see the little fish rising everywhere. There's going to be a lot of small fish at this lake, a lot of brook trout, but there are some rainbows in here. I know because I've caught them before. I've only been here a couple times and it's been a while. As you can see, that right there will kill you. If you step on that at the top, you're going all the way down. But as you can see, this shoreline is not one that's very conducive to easy travel and fishing. So look at those up there. Woo, look at that. That is rugged. But if you get down to Flower Lake, you can make it up here fairly quickly. I mean, it's really strenuous because you got to go straight uphill. But the nice thing is you can come up here and have lunch and kick back even if you don't fish. And there's usually nobody up here. I mean, it's a Sunday and there were people camping down at Flower Lake, and there weren't even that many people down at Flower Lake. And if you go to Flower Lake and the streams aren't too big, I would recommend that you camp around the back side of the lake, because that way you don't get all the traffic coming in. When I was hiking in, there were people camped right there next to the trail, and probably because you got to get wet to get to the other side, but because the stream is so high. But if you go to the back side of the lake, you'll definitely have a better time. So here we are, Heart Lake, my destination for the day. But there's not a lot of passage around this lake, so I'm gonna hike back up and around. But we'll see how rugged that terrain is. I don't know how much leg snapping fun I feel like crossing today. But look at that snow up there. It is July 28th today, and there's a lot of snow. And we're not that high. I think I'm at about 10.5 right now. So there you have it. That's the hike to Gilbert Lake, Flower Lake, and Heart Lake.